Hello, everyone. I am here with my friend Kim, and we are going to be talking more book marketing. Kim is the pipeline cleaner, which I think is the coolest tagline ever. She helps people make sure that they're all straightened out in a nice path, which is what I love as
Mhm.
well. So, when we were talking about book marketing earlier, Kim was talking about all these things that authors should be thinking about way earlier in the process, before they've published, maybe even before they've written the book. So I wanted to bring her on to talk more about that. So, welcome.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and I love talking about books. One of my favorite things is to read. And I think more people should be writing their own books too. Yeah.
What kind of people do you think are like the best profession for writing books, or is it just like everybody should have a book?
Well, I mean, I think people who help other people who feel like they have a little bit of that secret sauce, that is part of why and how they help people.
Mm,
And I think a lot of people are afraid that if you publish your secret sauce, right, that no one's going to want to work with you.
mm,
But I think what happens is if you do it right, you can give people all the bite-sized chunks, which builds your credibility. But chances are they're doing other stuff in their business, right? And paying attention to those details of what you can do for them is not what they want to be doing. So I think it's a way to build credibility if you do it right, bring people in, get them to experience working with you. And then if they're the right people for you, it will click.
yeah, I totally agree. I think even for myself, a lot of times I will download a book and look at their process and like, oh, that's really cool. That's a great idea. And it does build my desire to hire them to do it
Mhm.
for me or with me. Cause I'm like, yeah, like show me the way, help me follow along with this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that so if you are planning to use your book to grow your business, and I think that, the first three things people should ask themselves before they say, yes, I should write a book is, who are you writing for? Why do you want to write the book in the first place? And what is your audience going to get from it? How will it
Mhm.
make their life better, whether it's personal, spiritual, business, whatever it is? And if you don't have an answer to those three things, you probably need to do a little more thinking because your book isn't going to find a market. But I think once you know that, and that's not so much about marketing your book, it's more about just having a good book that people are going to be able to digest.
Mhm.
But then I have found the books that are going to help me in my business where I want to actually talk to and maybe work with the author. Honestly, my favorite ones are ones where I can write in the book or jot down notes because they're asking me questions that I can answer for myself.
Mhm.
And they're giving me a little bit of that experience. And I know I've been co-author on two books and I haven't done that, but I've tried to, break it down. And if you're really thinking about how you're going to help someone, then you should also be thinking about how do they get that help, and plant that seed in your book. And ideally, have an offer, have a link, have something they can go to learn more, to schedule time with you, to do a mini course, whatever it is. Because, I mean, you talked about books you've read where you're really excited. And then how many times did you kind of move on to the next thing and that book sat there and you didn't do anything with it?
Yeah, 'cause it's not always clear how to take that next step with someone.
Exactly, exactly. So, if you're writing a book to get more business, think about what does that look like and give people the next couple of steps that they can take.
Yeah. See, we're funnel builders, so that's what we think about. What's the next
Yeah,
step? What's the
yeah,
next step? What's the next step?
yeah,
How do you show
yeah,
somebody that?
yeah. And it's sort of like, I think where we really sync with each other is I like thinking about the steps that bring you to, you know, how you're going to go public and launch it. I don't really do that part of it. So it's sort of like, but you have to do all this thinking in advance, as opposed to, okay, I wrote a book, I got 1,000 copies, now what do I do? And I like saying you should have been asking that question a few months ago.
Yeah, it certainly makes my job easier if people come in already knowing who
Yeah.
their ideal audience is and what their offer is and the benefits. Like you said, that's so important. When I'm making a funnel, the first thing that goes on that opt-in page is, what is somebody going to get out of reading this?
Yes.
What's in it for them?
Yes. Yes. And I do think that, and I'm just curious about this, Carolyn, it's kind of like when they've got that clear and they have the end product to a point where, like, hyping a book before it's published, I think doesn't make a lot of sense, because people can't actually get that immediate gratification. But I do think a little in advance, getting people on that list so they're the first to read it. Wondering your thoughts on that. So you're starting to build the list maybe a little bit before publication, so that you have this group of people ready to go out and be excited.
Yeah, I agree. Hyping it up a little bit, get that sort of launch team, they call it sometimes, of your initial friends or people who know you, who are ready to promote it the moment it drops. It can be nice to give you a good boost for that launch. I mean, I often tell people the launch is not the end of the story. The launch is not all you need, but it's still nice to give you that boost and maybe get you on some lists, on those bestseller lists on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that you should be planning ahead of time, because none of us operate in a vacuum, right? We are pieces to a puzzle, and there are other people who fill in the rest of that puzzle, doing things that we either don't do or don't like doing. So the time to activate that tribe is really before you publish the book. And in fact, there may be places in your book where you reference, like, I don't do lead gen. Here's some people that I think you can trust on lead gen. I don't do, creating that, activating that funnel after it's published. Here's a link to my friend Carolyn's page, and maybe there's a special deal or something. But if you build up the other people where you can cross promote each other, and you have that set up, and you've created the opportunities for them to, maybe there is a kind of bump offer when people join your funnel of, oh, by the way, and do it in the next 30 minutes, and you're also going to get this deal from this person that I work with. So you're using it to cross promote, which is going to mean, like, if I send people to you, you're going to kind of want to promote my offer too. And this isn't just the two of us, but it's logic, right? So if we're all promoting something that we all have a piece of, the impact is so much bigger. And chances are the result for the person reading the book and taking the offers is going to be so much bigger.
Yes. I do love doing that. I love building up a network of people for all these different pieces and steps, because using a book, growing a book, selling a book, helping your business with a book, it's a big undertaking, and there's a lot of different pieces that go into it. So there's tons of people that can help you get further with it. And even thinking not just about the people that you're going to collaborate with, but also the people who are going to help you sell that book earlier. Because last week I was talking to Ashley Bernardi, who is a publicist for books. And she said, if somebody contacts me 2 weeks before publication date and says, okay, I want to get media for this book, it's too late. She says, people need to be thinking ahead. So it's just like you said, really thinking ahead during the process of writing, or even before deciding what you're going to write. Having a plan for all of these steps really helps a lot.
Yeah. And I think I hadn't actually even thought about the publicist part of it, but yeah, I mean, I was in the PR field for a while, and you have to spend a lot of time and investment in getting the media that you want to feature what you're doing to really feel like there's a hook there they can use. Yeah. And I'm working with one author who is like, his book is his story, and it links to the work he does now, but it's not why he wrote the book. And so what we're planning is, well, how do we create those things that bring people into experiencing working with you? And it's a lot easy before the book is published to decide what the link is that we're going to have on the page that people can use, as
Yeah,
opposed to after
definitely.
the fact, because you've missed that opportunity.
Yeah. I do a lot of after the fact, finding a hook when somebody did not think ahead about a hook.
Mhm.
But it's a lot easier if, like you said, you have thought about it, because then when you're writing it, you are weaving it in to the whole thing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do think it is, and I think there's a lot of reasons why people write a book. But if you think about what's the primary reason I did this, is it just because I waited so long to do what I did, I want to inspire other people? That is great. Then think about the other, inspirational people out there that you can partner with. Is it because you want to grow your business? Is it because you want to bring visibility to a specific need or, resource? But there's got to be that one primary why. And if you focus on that, I believe that you're going to sell more books. You're going to have a clearer picture of the audience. You're going to lead to an end result. And oh, by the way, if that why is so important to you, but you haven't thought of the end result, then, it's kind of like you're not quite there writing your book. So it's a logical flow to me. And you can lay it out in advance, and then it's easier for the publicist. It's easier for the person creating your funnel. It's easier for the people who want to help you promote it. And the beauty of that is the actual impact you have is so much greater.
Yes. And that is a key motivator. I think a lot of us are hoping to have a big impact with our books.
Exactly. Yes. And, you don't have to do it alone. I know people that help people get published, people that, people who help publicize, and you help them actually generate the book sales. And what I love about, the part you do is you create a process that just runs forever, because, we were talking ahead a little bit earlier that getting it set up is like, it's not now the money's going to roll in overnight. It's just going to keep working for me. And the next time I have an opportunity to push it, I'll push it. But people are going to go back to that same funnel. And once that's set up, and the earlier it's set up, the better results you get from it.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So what does the process look like for somebody who is an author, a business author, who wants to work with you? What does it look like?
So we start off by just having a conversation. What do you want, going through the core questions? What do they want to do? What do they want to accomplish? What is the offer out there? And then we will talk about, do they have a publisher? Who are they working with? What kind of process do they already have in place, right? And for me, it's a lot of, it starts off with, is there a way I can help them? And some people, they just want someone to validate what they're doing. Other people, one of the great things that I can help people do is visualize a process. I actually create a diagram for them that kind of shows them the steps that can happen, and who the partner collaborators are, what they get out of it, what the audience is doing, and what has to be in the book for them to be able to achieve the end point. So it's kind of like a roadmap that's going to take them where they want to get. And the little tasks they need to be doing along the way that no one else can do for them, right? So it can be a couple interaction strategy session where I give them the roadmap, or it can be more involved, work with them on helping coach them through parts of the process, and figuring out what those core messages are. Yeah.
It is really helpful to have somebody lay out those pieces of the roadmap, because like usually as the author, maybe you're not an expert in writing books. Maybe, you're probably an expert in something else, an expert in some other process and business. So you don't know what you need to be putting in there or which steps you should be taking in what order. So it's really helpful to have somebody lay that out.
And I think part of the value that I bring or other people like me bring is, like, when I've written a book, I've known why I did it and how it helped, but I'm not my target audience, right? And so I walk people through a thought process of, convince me. I am, the business that you want to work with, and I don't get it. Like, help me understand exactly why I should read your book and what I get out of it. I am someone who is adjacent to you, working with the same audience, doing something different. I don't get how I would introduce you to them. It's really getting them clear on not messages in their language, but messages that are going to resonate with the different people that all are going to be part of their success. So that when you tell your message about what the book is about, it's not going to be inconsistent with what Carolyn, you put in their funnel as a hook. And it's not going to be inconsistent with what the, potential partner who works another part of that business is going to see as a value, and that they can put their piece on top of. Because I do think it is putting it inside of, it's like a puzzle piece. It's got to match other puzzle pieces, or it's not going to click, and it's not going to stay, and it's not going to actually create a picture that puts someone where they want to be.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I love jigsaw puzzles, so that one always sticks with me anyway. But yeah. So yeah, it's the people who have a hard time mapping out all those pieces and figuring out what to do when, those are people that I can help, thinking about having a bigger impact in what they're doing because they've got the vision going in.
So where should people go if they want to learn more about working with you?
There's 2 places they can go. We can connect on LinkedIn, and it's Kim Vollbrecht, LinkedIn/Kim Vollbrecht. You can see the name on the screen. Or they can just go to v2strategies.com, my website. There's actually a link to schedule a quick call. And it is the letter V, the number 2, strategies.com. It's kind of like version 2 of what you're doing today. Once had a salesperson say to me when I'm like, I'm not sure how to do this, how to get started. And he's like, well, the one thing I can guarantee you is that version 1 always outperforms version none. And so version 2 is always going to outperform what you're doing today, and if you have a version 1. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That stuck with me for years, a long time. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Very cool. What other tips do you want to leave the audience with when it comes to preparing your book to be marketable before they publish it?
So it's, I think having a clear outline, and then the clear messages of, how does this help Carolyn? How does this help Joe? How does this help these people who work with Carolyn and Joe? Like, having a very clear image of why someone else is going to benefit. It's very easy to get caught up in telling your own story or describing your own process. But if you're not leading people to a result where they're going to say, I want that too, like, you've got to have the big kapow. It's like how I think about it. Ooh, wow. Now we got here. Something happened that I feel really good about because of this story. And I can see myself in how you got there, at least in a piece of it. It seems real to me. I think that always leading up to the win for someone else who's reading the book, right? I have seen some business books people have done that are very inspiring, and they make me believe that I could do it too. or they make me believe that someone I know in a comparable situation could do it too. And I think that's what we want to be able to do in a book, whether it's business or anything else, is make someone believe that they could end up being the hero of that story.
Yes, love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending this time with us and braving the StreamYard.
Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity, Carolyn, and I, look forward to seeing other interviews that you do. You do a fantastic job getting some really interesting and helpful people on. So
Thank you.
I love it. Awesome.
All right. We will say goodbye.